Hello, and welcome to Rocket Fuel, your daily update of everything that's happening in the Rocket Pool community. My name is Wack. Today is September 9th, and today's episode is only going to cover Rocket Pool and staking news, not Ethereum news. I'll talk about that a little bit towards the end of the episode, but today's episode is going to talk about the RPL price action. We're going to talk about the new smart node release of 1.13.8. We're going to talk about Lido and their community staking module as well, and a whole lot more. So let's get started.
10, 9, ignition sequence start, 6.
The first thing we're going to talk about here is RPL price action. So this morning, Lido checked the price of RPL in trading, and it showed that it went up by 21%. This was at 6:30 a.m. Eastern time, and he says this again. So basically what he's referring to is this cycle with the RPL token where it seems to have these huge pumps, like 20, 30, 100% one occasion, and then it seems like the price kind of retraces. But people here in trading were just like, what's going on? It's Groundhog Day. And the price just kept going up. At one point it was up nearly 35%. The ratio, of course, also spiked up with that. And then we got the sell order coming in like right away for this person trying to sell their RPL. And the idea, of course, being that, these pumps are kind of unsustainable. And once they happen, then the price retraces. But a little while later, we found out Mav shared this tweet, in trading from Binance Futures, saying Binance Futures will launch USDS and margined RPL perpetual contract. And this was to happen on on the morning of the 9th. But it seemed like this was the news that kind of built up the interest in the RPL and led to the price pump. Now, the point is that, they'll allow shorting and longing of RPL. So that means you can take leverage on your position and on your collateral, take leverage and really boost those margin positions, whether you want to short RPL or long RPL. And people here were saying 50 times shorts incoming, trading RPL with 75 times leverage. And Halula said either we're going to go to $3 or $100, and he says we're even more priced in USD now. So this relationship with the ETH ratio, that we had for so long for Rocket Pool's RPL's history, is getting more and more eroded as more and more of RPL's trading takes place in USD instead of ETH. And here, then people were talking about how we, the price, how it's going to get manipulated potentially. And ILU mentioned Aave, and we're going to talk about that in a second. But first of all, let's go and have a look at the futures market. So I'm in the US and I don't have my VPN turned on, and it's saying that I can't see the future stuff from the US, but it looks like there's been around $1.6 million worth of volume in the first few hours since it's launched, and the price has gone up to 12.42 as a high and 11.20 as a low, and right now it's at 11.47. With the actual chart for the regular Binance spot, it shows that the price is 11.49. Let me actually show you a different screen so you can see a bit more of it. But so at 6:30 this morning, it got this huge pump. The price went from around $9.50 or $9.60 basically to $13.26, and then it retraced somewhat, and it kind of went down to around $11.20, and then it's bounced up a little bit from then. But I don't know, how much of it is going to bleed out over the coming, hours or days. I think, a lot of people in the Rocket Pool community have kind of seen this happen over and over again. Let me actually just show you that happening over and over again. So if you go to the daily chart, you can see that, it seems like every few weeks you get this huge boost on the volume, but then you also get a boost on the price. So this happened on August 22nd. This happened to a lesser extent on July 16th. This happened here, the most violent one yet, the one where it went up 100% in a day, of course, was on June 13th. And that's when it went from around $18 to $36 in one day. And of course, the price retraced And not only did it retrace, but it lost pretty much that whole, well, massively lost that whole position. And so much so that, even from the low of that price pump, it went down a further, 55% basically from there. But it seems like this is it's a trend that's been happening with RPL starting in June, where every few weeks or every month or so, you get like a nice like candle of price increase. And my theory is that this is still someone trying to stop shorts and find shorts, because before, on the regular Binance spot market, you could 5 times leverage RPL, but now in the futures market you'll be able to do a lot more. So like I said, I think a lot of people have seen this happen recently, so much so that the borrow rate on Aave spiked to over 40% or 50%, I think it was at one point, and the borrow info was almost at 100%. So people saw the price pump, they went to Aave, they borrowed RPL, and they tried to short it, and then they tried to see if the market was going to readjust downwards. What's really interesting here with Aave is that right now, if you supply RPL, you can earn 5.4% APY on that. And like I said, that number is quite high, but it seems like the average number is somewhere around 4.65% over the last month, which is decent. If we look at the longer periods, it goes through periods of fluctuation, but that's a little bit less. It's around 3.7%, and on 1 year, it's around 2%. So for a long time, the pool wasn't getting utilized as much as it should have. But as you can see, in more recent times, the rewards that you've been getting have been much better. And like I said, at one point today, it spiked to over 50%. So that was a big, huge spike there. And it was getting above the range where the second curve kicks in. But this is what we need to keep an eye on now, is to see whether this will retrace or not, and how quickly it will retrace, I guess, is a better question to ask. And in trading this morning, like we were talking about how there's this idea, right, that every time there's this pump, you sell it and or you short it, and then you're going to be all good. However, I think that's a really, really risky play. And the reason why is because obviously we saw that one pump that went up 100%. So that should tell you that, even though if you see a small pump up, a small wick upwards, it doesn't mean that that's the end of it. And if you don't manage your position well, you could get liquidated within that, the second pump that might come. The second thing is that you have to be very, very careful, managing your position, because if you Binance basically knows where everyone's positions are, and I think with Aave as well, there's a way of trying to probably figuring it out. If you are checking the contracts to see what people have supplied and what they borrowed, you can get an idea of what their collateralization levels are, and at that point then you can go stop loss hunting basically, and that's our liquidation. You can force liquidations, and that's something you got to be really, really careful of. For me, it's just I just sit in spot and just wait until the market makers now decide that it's okay for RPL to start going up again, and once they make that decision, then I'll be happy in my spot position that I have. But if you are trading RPL, then looking out for these wicks that suppose come around once a month, I think there's some decent money potentially to be made there. But I do not want to be trading that. So that's just my perspective. Okay, getting to some actual news now. And here we have news from Fornax saying, hello node operators. Today we released version 1.13.8 of the smart node. It's a recommended update for all users that contains client updates and bug fixes. If your voting power is uninitialized, this update will automatically initialize voting power. It'll be delegated to your own node, and you can read more about it here. So this is actually really cool because we have enough governance power now to voting power now to actually have effective governance, which is fine. That's why we've had RPIP, a different RPIP going to votes. And the thing is, though, we need, I think, a bit more, potentially, just the more the better, basically. But now I think this will be a nice little boost to voting power update. And I think they'll they'll keep this feature in the smart node. So as people, by the time the next hard fork comes along, everyone will have initialized their voting power by then. Otherwise, they'll be kicked off the network. Now, with client updates, there's updates to Lodestar, rETH, Visu, Nimbus, Node Exporter, MEV Boost, Heku, Lighthouse, Geth, Nethermind, and Prism. And then there'll be some changes to the smart node itself. Here, like Blockstart Max Profit is marked as censoring. Nethermind config support the user configuration. And then there's a bunch of other things as well. And of course, the initialize voting command has been fixed as well. So you can update your smart node now to that latest version, and then you can claim a PWAP. So here we have PWAP 1.13.8, and Shifrin says it's been a while. Posted screenshot showing your smart node version to receive PWAP. Only screenshots posted before Wednesday, 11th of September will be eligible. So we have people like Hululo, Rastabob, Woe, and others who have posted it, with others saying that they will post it soon. So if you want that PWAP, make sure that you update your smart node within the next couple of days. And of course, the Shifrin has periodic raffles and PWAP naming prizes for these PWAPs as well. That's definitely something to keep an eye on. Okay, next I wanted to cover some talk about RPIP62, and this one we had a post from Epinef, and Epinef was giving his reasons for keeping the cliff. But before we talk about Epinef's reasons for keeping the cliff, I want to actually show you all the vote that's been taking place. Now, I have actually voted, so I have voted to remove the cliff, and that's just because of things that I've been, reading, the opinions I've been reading, and the pretty strongly convincing arguments that some community members have made, especially Noshua. So huge shout out to Noshua. So right now we have 73% of people who have voted in this. So there's 63 people who have voted so far. 73% of that have voted to remove the cliff, and 27% have voted to keep the cliff. Now, in voting to remove the cliff, I'm actually voting to impact my own rewards. My own rewards will be diluted, but I think this is for the best for Rocket Pool, and any of the people who have delegated to me, I'm happy to talk to them about my reasons for voting to remove the cliff. And of course, I think almost everyone is in acceptance of using ETH-only validators, LEB8s, within the next few weeks. But this is definitely an active area of discussion with the cliff. But here, Epinef gave reasons for keeping the cliff, saying, and the lead here as well is saying that I don't feel strongly about this. When voting to change economics, I should feel pretty strongly. And he says the decision to, and the Epinef goes and gives a lot more details to each of these. I'm just going to read the bullet points. So Epinef says his decision to remove or keep the cliff is primarily about apportioning rewards. I'm sorry, my brain couldn't read that word for some reason. There is no increased pie available. It's just a method of distribution. He says, in reality, I think more collateralized will leave than under collateralized will stay by dropping the cliff. He says, but like the story of the mutinous crew, it's important to realize how loyalty is earned and that it can be unearned. He says, over collateralized topper-uppers have been counting on the increased rewards, whereas folks who are significantly under collateralized have not been counting on the increased rewards. He says, the thing that most likely to cause folks to leave is the precipitous decline of RPL ratio, not the loss of rewards. He says, in general, I don't think there's going to be a lot of new ETH-only mini pools that also care about RPL rewards over a 6 to 9 month time frame. And of course, that's because when Saturn 1 is expected. He says, removing the cliff makes explanations and specs significantly simpler and may save time and allow rollover sooner. And roll out sooner, and it's like bond reductions are a case where the cliff is indeed extremely counterproductive. I think that was one of the things that really convinced me, is that we've still got a whole bunch of 16 ETH validators on the protocol, and one of the reasons why these people might not have bond reduced yet is because they don't have the RPL, or they don't want the RPL in order to go down to LEB8s. And by removing the cliff, we'll say to these people, hey, you don't need to worry about your RPL collateral anymore. Whatever collateral you have, you'll still get rewards in line with that. But you now have open path to going down to LEB8s, and I think that is actually a few thousand validators, which is extremely significant in terms of helping a TVL, because the deposit pool would empty out with that. We'd also get a whole lot more traction with those moving over, and that's what we want, because they've been sat there for over a year, not wanting to bond reduce. And then there's some other opinions here as well from Neverland Island, trying to convince Epinef that about trying to allay their concerns, and other people as well, like Hodger and Lee and others sharing their opinions. So if you're interested in what some of the latest thoughts are, then you can go and read those. But Epinef, I think, tried to make a case for why the cliff should remain, and you guys can go and read it if you are interested in hearing what Epinef has to say. Okay, over the weekend, as it seems to be the case for the last few weekends, we had Marko reducing the bond on his fourth node. So this Marko had he had 4 marriage nodes with Patricio, and this is now the 4th of those having its bond reduced, and that actually helped the deposit pool a little bit, but even that really wasn't enough to counteract the 1kx assault that we had pretty much with them exiting their node. And now we have 29,800 ETH in the deposit pool, which of course is about 12,000 ETH more than we want, but it's a lot less than the 37 or 38,000 ETH we had in there a few days ago. So that's Marko done now, and as far as I know, and we'll really need to get more node operators online for that number to come down, or the rETH premium to go away in the secondary market. So instead of people selling their rETH, they can just burn it into the contract. That would get us back down to 18,000 as well. But ideally, we get that ETH only validators online soon, and we can start people bond reducing and new node operators coming online, which would be amazing. And of course, things like node set cannot come soon enough, and hopefully we'll get some news about that soon. Okay, we got an update about the smoothing pool and a big block that I got. I got a 38 ETH block a couple of days ago, and this was $83,000. So I feel kind of bad for the person who got that block, but hey, it's our block now. So thank you so much for sharing that with us. Let's have a look at the smoothing pool, because we haven't looked at it in a long while. Let's see where it stands right now. So yeah, looking at the smoothing pool, you can see now the balance for this month is at 80 ETH, which is actually like really low. And if you have a look at the previous months, you'll see that the smoothing pool amount has actually gone down a lot compared to the heyday about a year ago, pretty much, which is when we had our all-time high smoothing period. And this is with 20,000 validators in here, but I'm not sure if that number is actually the correct number or not, because I think there's some exited validators that might still be getting counted. Now, what you can pay attention to here is that RocketScan actually does have some out-of-date information now, because it didn't date with Houston. So some of the things are broken, but I think this amount in the smoothing pool is correct. But this just shows you that activity on Ethereum layer 1 has been going down pretty much for the last few months, and because of that, there's less MEV and arbitrage opportunities on mainnet, and the consequence of that, of course, being that there's not as much ETH in the smoothing pool. Of course, another thing that's happened is that there's a whole lot more validators online now, and if you were if you were just keeping your execution rewards for yourself, then the chances that you wouldn't even get any proposals like in months. So at least you're getting some rewards by being in the smoothing pool, even if it's not that much. Okay, next we got a really big update coming out of the the rETH DeFi spreadsheet that Regex Buster manages. So here it says PancakeSwap must put some special spices in their LPs to allow you to get up to 196% APR. They have the highest APR on Rocket Pool's risk optimized DeFi sheet. So if we have a look over here, so the reward that they were getting was up to 196.7%. The reason for this happening was one of the big whales who had rETH in that pool exited their position, and because of that, obviously the rewards that they were getting like super boosted everyone else, and that actually has been filled out now by people who saw those juicy rewards and decided to throw some rETH into that pool. I think the amount of money they're getting has gone down by quite a lot. One of the things to note though is that PancakeSwap has actually been one of the best performing liquidity places that you could put your rETH, and it's consistently ranked as the top one for rETH rewards. So if you have some rETH lying around, it might be worth it for you to just throw it in there, because you'll be like really boosting your rewards and on a sustainable level as well. So I think some of the rewards are in the form of cake, and some of the rewards are in terms of RPL. I'm not sure if there is like auto balancing slash auto compounding tool built on top of it, but maybe something I should look into too. If we have a look now on layer 2s, you can get 12% on optimism. You can get 4.5%, 5%, 5%, a bunch of different places like Base and Arbitrum, and 2% on Gnosis. And on mainnet, the Gamma Vault is actually quite low, like 0.5%. Pancakes, of course, up to 200%, 196.7%. Balancer 4%, and Curve ETH, OS ETH at 3.6%. And then here we have one for RPL as well, rETH RPL, which is getting about 7%. So that's something you can have a look at as well. But yeah, this is a really nice update from Regex Buster on stakerocketpool.eth. So definitely check that out if you are interested in putting your rETH use. And the final thing from Rocket Pool news today is this update from Lululo today, who ran Rocket Scrape to see how many people are actually contributing to trading every day. And this is actually really fascinating to me because, we've got around 22,000 people, I think, or 21,000 people in the Rocket Pool Discord on a given day. However, all those people are not talking. Otherwise, this show just would not be possible. There'd just be too much. But what we've seen is that a big chunk of those people come and speak pretty much every day. Now, if you were to take the average of this, it'd be somewhere, over the last few years, it'd be somewhere around 100 people a day, unique people a day. But there's been a few really interesting spikes. The first major spike was around the spring of 2021, and that was when the beta was released for Rocket Pool. The second big spike was right around mainnet launch for Rocket Pool, the protocol, and that took us around to 300 to 350 unique visitors per day. Then there was a big spike in the middle of 2022. I want to say that lines up with, the crypto market kind of collapsing in that summer, but it might have been the period after that. And then there was another big spike, to a couple of spikes right at the beginning of 2023, and that was with Binance listing and ETH, RPL all-time high prices against ETH, and then the second one right around the Denkun upgrade, and of course that was with the Atlas upgrade as well. So there was a lot of attention. Now, what's really interesting is that if you overlay the view counts for Rocket Fuel episodes, you'll find those pretty much same peaks. So right around, the prices were hitting all-time highs, and around Atlas and the hype in that season, Rocket Fuel views were more than double what they are right now, and actually, getting 3 or 4 times as many views per episode, or 3 times as many views per episode as I do right now. And what's really interesting is, even though the daily trading users have gone down to like almost 50 users a day, pretty much where the numbers are right now, Rocket Fuel's viewers have still held up fairly decently. So that means that even though people aren't really coming in trading, then they're still watching the episode. So if you're watching this episode but you don't pop into trading, come back. It's pretty cool still. there's a lot to talk about. But yeah, I think that is actually a really interesting chart that shows where Rocket Pool stands right now. Sadly, there's not much attention on the protocol, and there is a lot of people who just aren't around who used to be around. So that's sort of shame. But hopefully, some positive price action, a couple of positive stimuluses like ETH-only validators, Set, and others coming online, and hopefully that number can turn around and we can start getting more people visiting trading every day. Okay, next I have an update from Lido, and this is kind of depressing. So Lido, for those of you who watched my Launchpad episode with Dimi, you know that Lido CSM is getting close now, and Dimi was kind of teasing that their curve was going to be released this week. Well, they actually shared information of what their curve looks like, and here Mal Eliza says, within the incredible advancements of the CSM, it seems reasonable to determine the risk parameters utilizing the existing framework based on current observed network conditions and suggest a bond curve structure for upcoming mainnet launch. Focus on this problem, I'd like to share my recent research on risk assessment for community staking. And that was from September 24th. Sorry, September 2024. Which was, I guess, just a few days ago. But here, the gist of the research, actually, that's from today. So you can click on this and see the whole of the research, which has some TLDRs, but also has a lot more information of it. That's a little bit outside the scope of this video, but what you can see here is the gist of the research. The TLDR says the bond curve and fee level suggestions. So this is from the CSM people to the wider Lido community. They're saying the bond curve and fee level suggestion is 2.4 ETH. So this is for when it becomes permissionless. They'll have 2.4 ETH for the first validator, and then 1.3 ETH for subsequent validators. And then for early adopters, these are people who went through the Lido testnet. They will get 1.5 ETH for the first validator, and then 1.3 ETH for subsequent validators. And these people will be paid a 6% fee from the ST-ETH, people who mint the ST-ETH, for all participants. So here we see there's a chart. So total bonded, and then total bonded capital non-EA, that's early adopter, and then total bonded for early adopters is a little bit less. But they're saying that with risk mitigation, they're saying sufficiently for risk transferring of consequences of any operational mistakes, cost of attack for any intentional malicious being 2 times higher than actual consequence for the protocol, and the bond curve from incentivizing consolidation validators on the one node operator, even for actors considering EL stealing, execution layer stealing. So it says therefore drastically reduces reasonable stealing opportunities and any possible consequence. And then they have market alignment. This is an amazing opportunity for all permissionless participants. You'll get 70% increased staking rewards for participants, and 70% increased staking rewards for participants with 2.4 Ether capital, increasing to more than 100% staking rewards. That's double solo staking participants who have more than 5 Ether capital, which is enough to run 3 validators. And says even greater opportunity for early adopters with increase in staking rewards starting from plus 118% of solo stakers, and reasonable level of risk mitigation suited even for extreme scenarios, sustainable DAO fee level of 4% for the module. So this is actually quite astonishing. Like the numbers that they're earning is huge, and this is better than pretty much anything that we've been able to crunch together in Rocket Pool so far, and it's actually quite scary. Now, last year when we were talking about Lido CSM and the idea first came to the community, I was scared, and since then, Rocket Pool has responded really well, and we've done a whole lot to make Rocket Pool as strong a protocol as possible. But what's happening is that we can't compete with this, right? So then there'll be other values against which that we'll try to compete, and then we'll try to promote ourselves. And those are, like Rocket Pool's permissionless, decentralized, blah blah blah, all that good stuff. But this is actually like real now, and it's scary. So people, I think, in trading really saw that as well, like pretty much right away. Lulu here was the first to get the research, and I said, how bad are we going to get fucked? and people just said yes. Yes, you will get fucked. The multiples of solo staking are, of course, huge. And Schifrin was like, they saw that RPL price was up 30% today, and they were like, let's post this shit. That was actually just shit posting. But yeah, they're getting up to 2.4 times solo staking, which is a lot. Yeah, it's really big. So people then started saying, here Invis said it might be a market turn race to the bottom. And then people were just kind of talking about what their different bonds are. And Hulu said here with 8 ETH bonds, as we're trying to get with the ETH only bonds coming through in a few weeks' time, with the rETH holders would have to pay 45% commission in order for us to match the yield from Lido's CSM. So here Bossy was like, Bossy was saying that, is they're just going to eat everything. And we said that, they're going to start with 1% of their stake, which is still a, substantial amount. And then with that 1% of the stake, they're going to see how it fills out, which I'm sure it's going to fill out really quickly. And after that point, what they'll do is they'll see if they're going to move to 2%. And then I think the goal is eventually for them to move to 10% or maybe even more of the Lido stake being with CSM. And thankfully, that will grow slowly. So there are opportunities for Rocket Pool to try to capture some TVL with these changes that happen. But it's scary. Like Lido, are just the numbers they're presenting are very, very, very strong. And I think that, we're gonna, with the Rocket Pool community as a whole, we're gonna have to be like on our game to really step up. Sneaky Ninja Guy was like, should trading report wax launchpad episode featuring Dimi? And then the Magic 8 Ball said yes. And then people were blaming me for Lido putting out these numbers. But yeah, people blaming me, so that's nice. It's all my fault. Yeah, it just means that Rocket Pool is going to have to innovate as quickly as possible, like with Saturn 1 and 2. Hopefully NodeSet can bring some ETH and RPL into the protocol. Hopefully ETH only validators, LEB8s can bring some ETH into the protocol. If there's people that have the ETH but don't have the RPL, which hopefully there's a lot of, if we get those bond reductions, there are some catalysts here for Rocket Pool's growth, but we're just going to have to wait and see how that works out against Lido CSM. But they have put out a really strong product here, and it hurts me to say this, but like congratulations to them. Like they've really changed what it means to, I think, be a staking protocol. And I think a whole lot of staking protocols are going to be looking at this news today and really wondering like how they're going to survive. And that's not just Rocket Pool, right? Like thankfully, I think we have a little bit of a moat. But things like Diva, who have not even launched yet, even protocols down the list like Stader and others, they're going to get squeezed quite hard. And I think what's going to happen is they'll be forced to take more and more risks on the bonding curve, up to the point where bad stuff starts to happen, where people will steal MEV, etc. Like Stader already at their 4 ETH validators, and numerous pieces of research from the Rocket Pool community has shown that without forced exits, that's not safe, the protocol, because it'll incentivize stealing MEV too much. Now, I don't know what's happening with Stader and whether that amount of stealing is happening or not, but if they try to compete with Lido and go down to 2, then that's just going to be even more incentivized for people to steal from Stader. Now, one of the things that we should know as well is that this is still a couple of months away from starting, and potentially a couple of months away. So that might give people a little bit of time to kind of reposition and change things if they can to be a bit more competitive. But it looks like Lido, when they launch with the CSM, is going to take capture a lot of attention, and then the point to make will be whether or not other protocols can compete with that or not, and that's what we're going to have to see. Now, finally finishing today's episode with some news out of the staking summit, and this is a home staking summit that's taking place during in Singapore, and It says announcing the first batch of speakers for the Home Staking Summit happening on 16th of September in Singapore at Artside Museum. Huge thanks to sponsors and kudos to Ethereum Singapore for making home staking exciting. Yeah, so let's have a look at what it includes. So they're going to have Vitalik speaking. On top of that, they'll have Brett Lee, who's the CGO of DV Labs, and then a whole bunch of other speakers as well. Oh, actually, Dimi's going to be speaking there. So I guess he'll be shilling CSM. Good job. Thanks. But yeah, sadly, there's going to be no Rocket Pool representation. I guess the team are not attending. It's really difficult to go to Singapore and then go back and then another, 6 weeks later, go back to Thailand. But if you are interested in checking out what's happening there, I don't know if they'll be streaming any of the talks. It might be that they are, but definitely keep an eye on that one. So I'm going to finish today's episode with a little bit of kind of like an announcement. So for the last few weeks, Anthony Sassano's not been making Daily Gwei episodes, so I've been kind of filling in for him with covering Ethereum news. Now, what's ended up happening is the Ethereum part of covering for Rocket Fuel is actually taking a lot of work, and it's making it, on some days, it's making it harder for me to get episodes out. And then when I do get episodes out, they're like hour-long episodes, and it's quite tough. So what I've decided to do is maybe see how things are going on the Rocket Pool side, which of course is my first priority. And then if everything's going well there, then covering Ethereum news, but potentially being a little bit more selective with Ethereum news and just trying to cover some of the bigger news of the day instead of getting down into all like the tweet reactions and getting the takes from different people on the news. But I think it's just because that would help me get episodes out every day as well, because I've been struggling to get episodes out every day for the last few weeks. So yeah, today there's no Ethereum news, but hopefully tomorrow there'll be some Ethereum news for you all. But on that note, thank you all for watching, listening, and being part of the Rocket Fuel community. I hope you have had a lovely weekend and a great start to the week today, and I will see you all tomorrow. Bye.